Do I wear comedy hair in this video?
Yes. Welcome. It's time for another Age of Sigmar battle report. Joined by the comedy hair of Remington Steel, as the Stormcast Eternals, the proud, noble celestial warriors, take on the foul, treacherous, depraved, Remington-led Daughters of Khaine. So as we remove the thumbnail, there you go. Look at that hair that Remington's got on display there.
I don't even know what it looks like
It's
at the
all
minute,
over
man.
the place. Are we unleashing the hair tonight? Is that what we're doing? Because two can play at that game. Hold on. Here we go. Let's unleash the hair and let's see what my miracle of technology in the corner thinks about this. It's already distorting my face. Look at that.
Okay, watch out, ladies.
There we go.
Oh, look at that 80s swashbuckler. Yeah, it's like Fabio.
There we go.
Around.
Look at that. Look at that magnificence. Look what it's doing to me.
We could be in a glam rock band, couldn't we?
Except for the bit of my face that it's erasing. At least it's only my hair. Okay. Hello, everybody.
What would Andy be if we were in a rock band? I think you'd be the keyboard player.
Not the charismatic frontman.
Maybe. I think you'd have to smile a bit more and dance about. I've seen your dancing. It looks like a keyboard player.
You know what? I think I may even consider ditching this little graphic I've got going on in the background here before we get too far into this video.
So while we're doing that, let's just say hello to our loyal fans, followers. David Knightley, David Kitely. Hello, mate. Big up the Leicester City. Big match this weekend coming up. New season, top 5, I predict. We're going to be top 5. We also got Graham Rigg. Hey, Graham. We've got Wayne. Hey, man. Zato. And many more that are going to be joining us for this. What is it, Andy? You can herald this if you like. Go. What we're here for.
It's a 3rd edition Age of Sigmar battle report. 1,500 points. Stormcast Eternals versus Daughters of Khaine. The Veins of Grrr scenario. But when you say Grrr, you kind of have to go Grrr. The Veins of Grrr scenario.
What's Grrr? Is that a realm of beasts, is it?
It sure is, and that's where this General's Handbook for this year, that is the official realm that's taking place there.
Okay.
So, let's get an arrow up on the screen, shall we? So you can see what I'm talking about.
Now this is amazing because this is the 3rd part of a trilogy. There may be more parts, but as it stands now, it's a trilogy, and this is the 3rd part of that trilogy. This is like the Return of the King. Okay, this is like, you know, not the Desolation of Smaug, the 5 armies, except there's only 2 now. We've got the Daughters of Khaine, ran by myself at the top of the screen there.
Well, with the amount of models you've got on there, it kind of feels like the 5 armies to me.
And below the arrow, we've got the pathetic force of a Stormcast Eternal. Now, Andy's trying to get clever today. He's introduced a whole slew of new units that he's painted, and a lot of these are new units that have come out in the starter box set for Age of Sigmar. Is it Desolation?
Dominion.
I've finished painting my Daughters of Khaine. I thought they look so good. It's a shame not to put on the battlefield. I've not changed my list. I don't think I've changed it from game 2. But yeah, anything to say before we do a rundown of the list, Andy?
Yes. One thing I've got to say is that, as usual, Remington, before the game even begins, he's cheating. Because everyone knows if you've ever played a game against Remington, you tell him the points limit, he comes in 20 points over every time.
Yeah, I came over by 15 points, man. I had 1,515, and that was, and I just didn't look carefully at the war scrolls enough. Or if I was to get bang on 1,500, I'd have to take a unit away and get a bunch of like extra, I don't know, endless spells. I didn't really have any more units I could bring. I suppose I could have swapped. Yeah, looking at it now, I could have swapped a few things about. So yes, from the start, I was 15 points over. So
we'll put that as an immediate disqualification.
Oh, God.
But just for entertainment purposes, I went ahead with the battle anyway, despite having the victory awarded to me by the judges on hand. So
unbelievable. He's like John McEnroe there, isn't he? And I'm like Beyond Borg, the cool customer there, just batting the balls back while you're shouting and moaning at the umpire.
So you can see there are 9 little markers on this battlefield here, and these are potential spots that the objectives could appear throughout the game. And we actually have a picture of the page in the book here, the Veins of Gur. So the spots where the objectives could appear, all those 9 spots, on Battle Round 2, one objective will appear on the centre line, and then in the next round, the other 2 objectives will appear, one on each of the territory lines, like so. And you score points based on holding those objectives in your turn, based on the battle round number. So if you're holding 2 objectives in Battle Round 4, you would get 8 points. Pretty simple, isn't it? The scoring.
It is when I let you do the scoring, Andy, but that actually sounded quite complicated. But when we were actually playing it, it was really simple. There's not basically there's not many places you can get victory points, and you can't get any in the first. You can't claim any in the first round for this, can you, Andy? Because they only appear in the second round.
That is correct. Only one will appear in the second round as well. So other than that, we're not doing battle tactics yet, because that's just another layer of complication, and the games are slow enough as it is. We were using grand strategies though, and I believe I took the one where I get my points if I have more of my units alive at the end than yours. And what was yours?
I can't remember.
I can't remember now.
Was that to keep a battle line unit alive?
I think it was probably that, yes.
Like
so we have got grand strategies. We are using heroic abilities as well in this game, which is, I think this is the first time we've brought those in. So heroes will be extra potent in this game. And look at that, there's the... He looks a bit like the Beastmaster Remington there with the pose, but of course he's not commanding Beastmen, he's commanding Daughters of Khaine.
Now, if you'll notice, I've to a subtle tactic here. I was wearing bright yellow tank top to outwit Andy's orange flame. So let's see how I get on with that. But yeah, you can see me towering above my devastating Daughters of Khaine army there. The more I play it, the more I'm sort of getting, I wouldn't say falling in love, but falling in more and more of a state of affection for these troops, because they've been through many battles. And there's been a few units that have survived all the battles so far. So yeah, I'm ready to go through them when you're Andy. Anything else you wanted to point out there with the arrow?
So the battlefield, as I pointed out in the last game, for anyone that didn't see that, this is a 6x4 mat, but it's almost perfect in that these corners of these square bits at the edges there line up perfectly with the new table size for Age of Sigmar. So I've just put some terrain on the corners to mark the edge of the table. So it leaves these nice little channels on the edge and in front of us where we can keep our dice and whatnot without them being on the battlefield itself. So this is actually the perfect mat for Age of Sigmar because of that. And this is gamemat.eu, I think. I think it's called Kingdom of Heaven mat.
It is a good mat, isn't it? It can look a bit it can look a bit too busy, but for this battle, it worked perfectly. It was really wonderful for this particular battle.
Yes, we also added more woods than we had last time, so more terrain that's going to be easy for you to be wholly within, so you can get cover, because that wasn't too easy to get in the last couple of games, was it? So we've got more woods here, and we've got your army first. So do you want to run through your list? It's the same as last time, so you should be able to do it in record time, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
So starting on the left.
Okay, we've got Morgwith the Bloody and the Blade Quoven. So she is a Hag Queen, and she comes in at 175 points, but you get that little troop with it. These guys in the past they've just held objectives really. They've not been deciders or game deciders, or I've not really figured out how best to use the Morgwith's abilities yet.
They're a bit complicated, aren't they, as a unit? It's because they're kind of shoehorned in there because they're one of the war bands, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. They are a bit complicated because they're just not all one type.
Yeah, they're not streamlined like some of the other units.
Yeah, because you've got 2 Witch Elves in there, you've got 2 Sisters of Slaughter, and you've got a Blood Stalker. So the Blood Stalker's great because that's 2 shooting attacks on your turn. But the others, it's I don't know. But what's good about them is that they can take the wounds. So if that unit gets attacked if you roll a dice, it's a 50-50 chance the wounds hit the troop rather than your hero. So that's kind of cool. Hello, Stu. Hello, Brad.
Hello.
That's Morgwith the Blooded, 175 points. Then
what about next?
That's an easy one. We've got the Doomfire Warlocks. They're
On
coming
their,
in
on their illegal rectangular bases. So another rule broken.
I have found some ovular bases for them now, so I'll get to work converting them. Yeah, 140 points, 5 Doomfire Warlocks. These are actually pretty terrific, but they need to be kind of close. They've got a 12-inch crossbow weapon, but they've also got magic, so they can do a Doomfire Bolt, 12-inch range, casting value of 6. They've also got Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield. They've got a 14-inch move. They've got 2 wounds, and when they're in combat, the horses get 2 attacks, and the riders get 2 attacks. And what's nice is the riders have a -1 rend, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, which is kind of handy. So 4 attacks each in combat. Nice.
Now, you've got quite a whole mass of troops here surrounding the shrine. So what are these units you've got around here?
Well, rather than separating out these into across the table, I thought I'd concentrate there, to keep the general alive. Was that one of my victory conditions, actually? I can't remember.
You do have bonuses as well for being near the shrine. It adds to your ward save, doesn't it? So keeping all those troops nearby. Good choice.
Yeah.
So what are they? Tell everybody.
So we've got some Sisters of Slaughter at the back left there. 10 of those, and then we've got 2 units of 10 Witch Elves as well, and they're armed with sacrificial knives, so that gives them 3 attacks each in combat, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, no rend. And in the middle, we've got a Medusa on the Bloodrack Shrine, and this baby, she's been a terrific combatant for me. In combat, bit of a tank, and also has some handy extra bits and bobs. Now, my Medusa, I've given a special artifact, the Crystal Heart, which gives her an extra spell, which is pretty cool.
Do you want to tell everyone how many points the shrine is, by the way?
Yeah. The shrine comes in, it looks very expensive on paper, actually, but that's because I'm pretty tight as a person. Comes in at 190 points.
How? How is it only 190 points? This thing's a beast.
That's unbelievable. So that's only 15 points more than Morgwith the Blooded and her troops. So for that, you get 13 wounds. You get a whole host of really cool attacks. And I've taken with me, what spell did I take, Gandhi? Do you remember?
You took Pit of Shades and
I love that
else.
spell, man. I didn't really forget that spell. I wanted to make you say it. Pit of Shades, and I think I've got Enfeebling Foe, which I never use, really. Perhaps I should, but Pit of Shades is just too damn good.
So who's this dancing around behind the Witch Elves here with the couple of blades in the air, wild hair?
So that is my Slaughter Queen, which she's a bit of a beast in combat. She's got some kind of artifact which gives her a 5-up ward save, and that's dead good. So we've got the Avatar of Khaine. Love that model. I want more of these. These are brilliant. They've got a 10-inch.
Can you take more than one Avatar of Khaine?
This I don't know. They're 135 points. I'd like to.
I can only imagine it's a unique unit. The Avatar of Khaine. Surely. Must be unique.
I've got a feeling you can. I've not been told any different. I might be wrong. They've got a 10-inch shooting attack. Of course, you have to wake them up because they're just statues. So if you roll a 1 or 2 in the first round, you won't wake them up. But because I'm Hagnar, that's the type of Witch Elves I am. That's their caste, if you like. I'm Hagnar. They can come alive on their own from turn 2. And on the right, we've got the very reliable, never been taken off the table, Bloodstalkers there with their handy bows, which do auto mortal wounds on a 6 when you roll to hit, and they've got 2 shots each.
And in this game, this is the first time in this edition that we're allowing units to be set up off the table, if their special rule allows it, of course. So, who have you got sitting in that, looks like a takeaway tub?
Yeah, those takeaway tubs are like flipping awesome, man. I've been collecting those really good transportation baskets. We've got 5 Kinare heart renders. They're the ones with the sickles. I've not played these very well in the first 2 games, so this time I thought let's have them off the table and then bring them on at a crucial moment. They've got some handy little tricks up their sleeve, and they get an extra damage on the round they charge in. So that's also pretty handy.
Okay, time for the Stormcast now, including some freshly painted units. So this list has been specifically designed to deal with the threat of Remington, as best I know, because obviously this is only our 3rd game in this edition. So we've got a Lord Ordinator, and his ability is that he assists the war machines that are shooting, the artillery pieces. So you can already see one of them there. We've got 3 Annihilators, which are the new hotness from the Dominion box. Zap down from the skies, wound things around them, just mortal wounds flying everywhere. They charge, you do mortal wounds, then they beat you up, then they've got a 2+ save without even having to cast any spells or use command points on them.
Oh, and plus, Andy, before we forget, every time you kill any Stormcast unit in combat on a 6-up, you suffer a mortal wound. For the it's already pretty hard to kill Stormcast in combat, and then you get retribution as a reward. Unbelievable. So these are like upgraded retributors, aren't they, Andy? These guys.
They're fairly similar to retributors. Retributors, I think, can possibly deal out some more damage, and there's more of them as well, but they're nowhere near as survivable.
Do these guys get a bonus when charging?
Yes.
Christ.
As long as they appeared on the battlefield that turn, I think it is.
Right, okay.
So these are units that I've set up in the Celestial Realm. You can see Sigmar's hand sanitizer next to them as well there. So these units are all in the Celestial Realm waiting to zap down. So there's 1 ballista, and there's 2 more ballistas as well. So 3 ballistas with the Lord Ordinator, and they're taken as the Grand Battery Battalion, which means that obviously they're really good together anyway, but that battalion means that once per game, then I can use the all-out attack or Unleash Hell command ability without spending a point and without issuing the command.
What's the difference, Andy? What's this Unleash Hell?
Unleash Hell is the new stand and shoot, which normally costs a command point to do, and it's -1 to hit.
And what's all-out attack?
All-out attack is just +1 to hit, which I wouldn't want to use anyway because I've already got that from the Lord Ordinator on all of them.
Yes,
so they wouldn't be able to benefit from it twice because it won't stack beyond that. So, in theory, I should be able to, unless I'm misreading the rules, use Unleash Hell twice if I keep them close together and there are multiple units coming into me, then I can just be gunning them all down. So wherever I land, I'm confident I'll just be able to blast everything off the table with them.
So I'm going for wearing bright yellow to put Andy off and, just being magnificent. Andy's going for some rules synergies as a tactic.
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll see I've got another unit that synergizes with them in a moment. But first of all, we've got the Judicators, 5 of them with their bows, including the special champion bow that always rolls a 1.
I hate these guys. The champion bow, if it doesn't roll that 1, it causes absolute devastation.
Now, Remington's cheated twice so far. I've cheated once because I've got these ether wings deployed too far back on the table because this isn't actually part of the battlefield here. It actually starts on this line here, but for some reason I've got them further back.
I was going to say, Andy, these have been your match-winning unit, right? And I was wondering, the way they win the matches is because people think there's better targets to shoot than these silly little birds, right? And so what happens is they just sneakily capture what they're called?
Objectives.
I always forget that word. They capture objectives from right under your nose. So I was wondering why you wanted to hold these so far back and out of the way. It was strange to me. Can you explain, Andy?
Well, we don't have any objectives on the battlefield at the start. So it seemed wise to hold them until there are actually some objectives to claim, at which point they will then leap out and do their thing. But I don't want them to die before they get the chance. Now, the artillery battery also synergizes with the Knight Azeros, because any enemy unit within 10 inches of him, I can re-roll 1s when shooting them. So that's a bonus that you can stack with +1 to hit, because it's not just another +1. It's just re-rolling 1s. So if I move him up to within 10 inches of things I want to shoot with all the artillery battery that's coming down, then I'll have +1 to hit from the Ordinator, re-rolling 1s, and then when things charge the artillery battery, I can unleash hell twice, theoretically.
Now, this guy, Andy, you haven't mentioned his other ridiculous ability, which is just...
Oh, well, I've put an artifact on him, so he's got the 5-up ward save. Because I know he's going to be on his own in the middle of the battlefield, because he's going to be rushing out there immediately, right into the face of the enemy, to give them that re-rolling 1s to shoot. So he's going to be on his own, so I want him to be more survivable, so I've put the ward on him. And he's also going to be a very good candidate for all-out defense, or the Finest Hour heroic ability. Either of those will take him to a 2+ save with a 5+ ward save.
Plus, he's got 5 wounds as well.
Yes.
And the thing about these heroic abilities, you know, they can give you +1 to hit when you're doing all out attack, or they can do +1 saving throw when it's all out defense. And then you can you can do Finest Hour. What does that do again, Andy?
That's +1 to your save and +1 to wound rolls, I think. So that's different from a command ability, because you don't have to use a command point for the heroic actions, but it's only 1 per turn. So he's going to be a good candidate there. I've also got Yin Droster, freshly painted, with a lovely purple wings there. She's about 300 points, so she's way more than the Shrine, but she's very survivable as well. She's got the nice 3+ save, so obviously potential there to boost it to a 2 quite easily, and the 4+ ward save as well.
Unbelievable. The Shrine's only got a 5-up save, by the way.
But all the Daughters of Khaine stuff has a ward save, though. And
it does, but it diminishes after it gets wounded, where none of your troops do.
That is true, because I don't have a Star Drake in this list. So the Liberators are kind of a lookout, sir, screen for those 2 heroes there as well, in case anyone gets a pot shot on them in the first turn. Got more Liberators there to finish off the battle line with the Judicators, of course. And incidentally,
she can bring back people from the dead, can't she? Once per game.
Once per turn, she can bring back a model to nearby units.
Wow. Okay.
So, by the way, speaking of battle line, just a quick aside here. I was reading in a Warhammer community article that there's going to be some rules in the new Stormcast book, so you can take Annihilators and Retributors as battle line units if you select a certain storm host. So that sounds pretty good to me. You don't have to bring these feeble Liberators out.
That's fine. Annihilators, they're the ones with the shields, right?
Yes. And you know all about Retributors. So there's a picture of the Beastmaster Remington. Cinematic view there.
Here's a question for you, Andy, because I didn't think of this at the time. So you've got this Yin Droster, and she's got this ability. She can bring back a guy from a unit. Now, they're just Liberators surrounding it, and I can see why you probably want to make a human shield, because you're quite cowardly. But also, wouldn't you want to put your Annihilators near her? Because then if they get taken down, you can possibly bring those back up, because they're much more powerful.
Well, that is definitely something you can do. But the Annihilators have a lot of their abilities when they're zapped down from the heavens.
Oh, yeah.
And you can only put 50% of your units in the heavens, so I couldn't put Yin Droster in the heavens and the artillery battery and the Annihilators.
When she brings people back, do they come back at full strength, or is it just like one wound she can?
No, it's just one full strength model just pops back up again. It's only up to 3 wounds though, so the Annihilators would be viable. They would be a potential target there. Yeah, so it depends where I bring them down. If they're down anywhere near her, then there's potential for that to come up.
Got you.
So first turn, and obviously Remington is going to go first because he's only got 2 command points. So I won the roll off, let the Remster go first because I want him to clear out a bit so I can zap down my units behind him, ideally.
That's the 3rd game in a row you've decided on who goes first, haven't you?
Yes.
And you decided on me straight away. So I thought, well, Andy's got less shooting on the table right now, although he's got more shooting off the table. And when he brings them on, he can shoot in that same turn. So it's like, oh, what do you do? Do I hang back? Perhaps I should have spread out to limit where he could descend down from. But that would involve too much tactical thinking. And, my instincts were to go where I think what's it called again?
Objectives.
the objective is going to land. It's going to land in the middle somewhere. I don't know where. So I thought move everything forward just a bit. But if you can get in the forest and get some cover, do that. And also put a Mystic Shield on these guys, because I know Andy likes to go for them guys. But they're all out of range, unfortunately. They're out of range with their shooting.
You've got Mystic Shield on the shrine as well, because you've got quite a few units that can cast spells, and you've got a few praying units as well, haven't you? A few priests.
Yeah, I've not quite got the hang of the prayer thing yet, but I did use a prayer to see if I could animate the statue of Khaine, and I failed that. I think I rolled a 2. If I rolled a 1, I would have hurt myself. But yeah, so the statue of Khaine is not animated. Morgwith the Blooded and her blade Coven run to the forest for some cover, as you can see there. And hopefully the snake girl in there, she can reach one of Andy's troops with her bow, 24-inch range. What else we got, Andy?
Well, everything else just seems to be moving up a bit. You've moved are they Bloodstalkers, the snake ladies?
Yeah, Bloodstalkers. They've gone in there. They look really good in there, don't it? Very Jason the Argonauts, I think.
Yeah, they've gone into cover.
Yeah, they've gone into cover and they're in range to shoot. You can see the statue at the back. That's just stayed still. I'm giving the Slaughter Queen at the back. Don't want her to get into any trouble there. And yeah, basically, I'm all in range for the buffs that the Slaughter Queen and the Shrine can give out. That's the idea there. The Shrine's only got a movement of 6. And if it gets injured, it can go right down to movement 3. So it's just sort of trucking along there.
Now, who are these sneaky little people here?
So in the first turn, these are the Khainite Shadow Stalkers, and they've got this wonderful ability that instead of a normal move, they can appear anywhere on the battlefield as long as it's a 9-inch away from you, because they're sort of assassins. The Khainite Shadow Stalkers, they're like, I didn't mention those, didn't I, at the start? But yeah, I've got those. They're 120 points, get 9 models. And they've got a mixed crew as well. So I thought I would give Andy a headache and spoil his plans and put them back there. What do you think about that, Andy? Does that take you by surprise?
Well, we'll see what happens with them. But at this point, when they drop down there, I did ask you, are they any good in combat? And you said no. So we'll see whether they are when they get into combat at some point in this game. So your Bloodstalkers are doing a bit of shooting, and it looks like you spent a command point on them to give them all-out attack. So,
yeah.
And they have shot off 2 Liberators from this unit at the front here.
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a lovely sight? So basically, it was 2 to hit. I went for 2. So I was either going to go for Yandastra with the shots, but I figured Andy will probably, save those. So I thought, let's get some of these Liberators out of the way to make Andy feel like he's hardly got any troops on the table. And it worked. They did save a few, actually, but I managed to kill 2 or 3.
2 of them were killed. And they won't have to take Battle Shock, of course, because they're within range of Yin Droster. And let's go on to my turn now. So what's my strategy? If we look at the overview here. So, I could, in theory, considering there's not a great deal of places to plop down my artillery battery and my annihilators behind his lines, I could elect to hold off and bring them down later in the game. But if Remington wins the roll-off in round 2, he could force me to go first, and I'd just be in the same position again, having wasted an entire turn. So I thought I might as well bring them down now, because that way I've got potential for a double turn as well. So I could get 2 rounds of shooting, and then whatever's left, when it charges me, I've got that once per game double Unleash Hell waiting for him as well.
So usually, Andy, one would normally put the artillery batteries at the back because they've got really good range. But with Andy's synergies, he's figuring I can put them right on the side or anywhere on the table, and it would be like, American Civil War Gatling guns.
Yes, because once you get them close enough to rapid fire, which isn't the most reliable because you're hitting on 5s then, but when you've got all the things stacked up on it that I'm going to be using, it becomes quite a potent onslaught. So I choose to put them down here.
Where that arrow is? No.
where the arrow is now. So we'll get to the thinking behind that in a minute. But I wasn't initially sure whether I was going to bring them on this turn. I was deciding whether it was a wise move or not. So let's have a look. I think I've shuffled these units around a little bit just to get some within range to do some shooting.
Why did you put them? Oh, we'll go back to that picture if possible, Andy. But I don't know why you put them on the side where I've got the most troops, and not the other side where you could just have that side of the table for yourself, just with the Gatling guns.
Well, I'll get to that in a moment. So the Judicators, I think they put some wounds onto the shrine. It hasn't actually taken 8 wounds because the old Remster here got a bit confused and was putting on wounds remaining instead of wounds taken. So all my shooting was targeting that from the centre.
I think you did take a couple off. You took
I did take off some wounds, but I didn't take 8 off. And then the Celestial Spear as well.
Oh, that's
did
horrible.
Some wounds,
yeah, you took 5 wounds off the shrine, and I actually might have saved a couple of those even. So yeah, it's pretty devastating.
So
she's got like a 2 to hit, 2 to wound or something with a spear.
Yeah, something like that. So I forgot. I think it is actually 2 and 2s. So I forgot to resurrect the Liberator this turn, as you can see, which is okay. The artillery batteries come down here. Now, the reason I brought them down on this side, they've got a lot of juicy targets. And if you look, let's go back to a wide shot from a minute ago. So on that side, one of the 2 units that are over there are in cover. So the Doomfire Warlocks are the only juicy target on that side. On this side, there's the Avatar. There's Witch Elves as well. And everything else is kind of slightly skewed towards this area. Whereas if I come down here, I've got the forest blocking everything. I've got this bit of terrain there as well. So I'm kind of cut off. It's still a gamble.
Oh, true, but you've got the range. You've got the ranged attack, haven't you? So, I don't know. I really think you could have...
I'm trying to go for the ultimate, like, alpha strike of doom, though. Drop down, just delete the Avatar and the Witch Elves in one go.
Got you.
From my amateurish calculations, then I figured out that I should be doing enough damage with these 3 ballistas to kill the Avatar. But, as you can see, I've only done, I think, 7 wounds to it. How many does it have?
I think he's got 9 wounds. So
yeah. So I should be doing enough wounds to kill the Avatar with 3 of them on average.
It's got a good saving. I think it's got a 4-up saving throw. So
which will be reduced to 6 by these guys, though.
Reduced to 6, and then I get this little ward save. So
yes. So I think on average, though, it still should be dead, the Avatar.
Right.
But obviously, it's within the realms of not too ridiculous. I think 2 of the ballistas were a horrible failure at shooting when they dropped in, and one of them actually did all the damage there. But what you don't see here is because I hadn't decided yet whether to move these on yet, so I didn't actually move the Knight of Zeros far enough to help out with his 10-inch radius, because I was going to run him up further so he could be within range. And unfortunately, I forgot to do that because I brought them on kind of as an afterthought after I'd moved him, and then forgot to move him the extra distance.
So did you focus fire them all on the Avatar, did you?
I believe so. I don't think anyone else has taken any damage there.
That's right, yeah. So you focus fired on the Avatar. Yeah, okay, I can see that. So you really thought you'd get 9 wounds off him then, did you?
I thought, on average, I should probably do 10 at least on him.
10 wounds, but I've got a 4-up saving throw. Was it -2?
That's factoring in the saves as well.
Right, okay.
So I was hoping to kill it, but because it's so close to death now, if it wants to charge me, Unleash Hell is just going to finish it off easily.
Yeah. And then the thing is, the Avatar is actually dormant. I have to bring it to life. So, it will automatically come to life in turn 2 for me. So it's like, what do I do? Do I just run him out to die, or do I hide him? Not sure what to do with that. Any other thoughts, Andy?
And I'm also thinking, if the Witch Elves want to come over here and join in the fun, then they'll have a bit of a nightmare as well with the Unleash Hell. Because I could easily kill those with the potential 2 rounds of it coming in the same turn because of the Grand Battery Battalion ability.
Now, they're pretty tanky, aren't they? They've got your rocket battery things, ballistas.
7
They've
wounds
got
each.
7 wounds each, so And so that's 21 wounds, but then you've got the Lord Ordinator there, and he's another 5 wounds. So that's 26 wounds.
So it's not easy to kill all that, definitely.
Not easy.
The Annihilators drop down as well in the back behind the Sisters of Slaughter and the Doomfire Warlocks. And as they land, their mortal wound lightning pulse comes down with them and kills a few of the Sisters of Slaughter, which is nice.
It's really nasty.
And then they're going to try and make a reroll charge. They need to get 9 inches, but they've got the reroll, so it's not too ridiculously unlikely that they could potentially make it into combat.
Really nasty, Andy. I think you maybe you overestimated those guys. There's only 3 of them. Did you? I don't know.
They're not supposed to take on your whole army though, because I'm thinking that you can't possibly send all these units back to deal with them. So you'll probably end up throwing a couple of units there. And I think 3 Annihilators would be able to take out the Doomfire Warlocks, definitely.
Yeah.
If you're sending diminished Sisters of Slaughter back there, because none of this stuff really has rend, does it? I think the Doomfire Warlocks have got a little bit of rend.
Yeah.
But nobody has got significant rend in your army, so I think...
No. You've got 2 up save, right?
Yeah.
So I need mortal wounds for it, really. So
yes.
Also, I'm thinking I want to get to where the objectives are going to be as well, not to get distracted with Andy's 3 warriors at the back there, which could easily be a distraction. Because to take those out, I'm really going to have to put at least 2 or 3 units on it.
Yeah,
right?
And if you're sending things back there, then you're away from the centre line, where an objective is going to be appearing soon. You're away from the rest of my troops, which would be nice as well, because I want to clear out the middle. And it also means less things going for my gun battery as well.
But Andy's done me a favour, because the Doomfire Warlocks were out of range with their magic and shooting attacks. But now, with those Annihilators there, I've got something I can shoot at and perhaps stay out of range unless he rolls really high for his charging.
So at the end of that turn, we find out that one of the objectives is going to appear right here in front of the Blade Coven.
Yep, Morgwith the Blooded and the Blade Coven. Yeah.
Yep, so that's where one of the objectives is going to be.
That's lovely.
So they're not worth a lot to be on them yet, but still okay. And
I think you were hoping it would go in the middle, weren't you, Andy, where your Knight of Zeros is?
That would have been nice. I was hoping to get the double turn as well, so that I could finish off the Avatar and then shoot up the Witch Elves as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I could get a double turn, shoot twice, and then unleash hell the next turn when you charge in as well. So it's just a ton of shooting before you even get to do anything.
Wow.
But alas, the Remster wins the roll and decides that he's going to go first in this round. So I do get extra command points because of that, though. So let's see what happens here. I believe the Shrine gets some wounds back now.
Yeah,
you used Heroic Recovery, didn't you?
I did use Heroic Recovery. I did want to somehow bring back some wounds onto give some life wounds back to the statue of Khaine, but I don't think I can do that, can I? I've got no abilities that can do that. I don't believe.
3 words: Pit of Shades.
Pit of Shades. I mean, this is beautiful, Andy. So the one drawback of these Annihilators is they've got movement 4, right? Which I think even that's too much for the amount of armor they're wielding. And the Pit of Shade spell, if you get it off, you roll 2d6, right? And let's say I roll a 10,
which you did.
They've got movement 4, so 10 minus 4 equals 6. And that 6 is the amount of mortal wounds that Andy suffers. So did you get your ward save?
They don't have a ward save.
They don't have a ward. So that's how you take out those guys.
Yes, it is. You Pit of Shades them, and also I didn't have any dispelling, no unbinding abilities in this army, unless I used the heroic ability.
That's right, but then you would have had to roll pretty high, wouldn't you? You'd have to roll a 10 or more. Or 11?
I can't remember what it was you rolled on the casting roll, though.
Ah, right, I see. Yes, you're right. Yeah, I think it's not... What is it to cast Pit of Shades? I needed a 7, but I get a +1 to cast, I think, because I'm in range of the Avatar.
Yeah, so the one way to stop that, obviously, would be to have a Knight Incanter who can use the once per game automatically unbind something ability.
Yeah, that's actually sorry. The altar of Khaine. It gives +1 to chanting, not not spells. So I must have rolled a 7 or more to do it.
Yeah, I think you did. So the Avatar is moving in on the gun line, and apparently the Avatar has a devastating shooting attack in addition to combat for 135 points and having 1 billion wounds.
I know, Andy, didn't you know? I think Andy was so desperate to take that thing out, and I knew he'd probably focus fire, and he wouldn't need any special firing abilities to take 2 wounds off that thing with the amount of shooting he's got racked up there. So I figured I'm going to go down. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down in a blaze of glory. So what did I do? I shot my torrent of burning blood, 10-inch range, 6 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, with a -1 rend. So I focused that on one of those ballistas.
Yes, we'll see what happens there in a minute. But over here, you've just moved to fully secure this objective with the Blade Coven, and you've moved the Doomfire Warlocks into the woods, and they're running away from the last remaining Annihilator.
Yeah, hopefully they're in range to shoot it still. So I need it to be 14-inch.
You've put a wound onto an ether wing as well. How cruel of you! What have they ever done to you?
Oh, that's right. My the lovely snake girl, one of Morgwith the Blood's crew. She's actually got a name. Actually, something I keep forgetting her name. Is it Kyra or something like that? Kyra. Yeah, she managed to do that. I like that. I like her.
Snaky Archers of Doom. They shoot and put 6 wounds onto a ballista.
Yeah, they do.
So 1 wound left, which is probably good, really, because it forces you to use another shooting attack on them.
Yeah, so was I focus firing that? So was that the Avatar?
You haven't fired with the Avatar yet, but we'll get to that shortly. And down here, these guys move on, and I think they ineffectively try and shoot the in-cover Liberators there.
Yeah, they've got a little. I think they've got a 6-inch range with their shooting, so it didn't really come to much.
At this point, I thought, you know what? The Avatar, it doesn't have that ridiculous a shooting attack, does it? It's not that insanely good. I thought if I put all-out defense on this unit, which I could have done when the Snake Ladies shot it, but I didn't know they would do 6 wounds.
Yeah,
but I thought if I use it now and just tip this into the balance of being alive, then maybe that living could be crucial because it's going to give me more shots. And I've decided to use that, but unfortunately it didn't work. So had I known that the Snake Ladies were going to be so good and take off so many wounds, then I would have used it right at the start. But obviously you have to decide as soon as it's chosen as the target of a missile attack. So 1 ballista down, but 2 is still enough for me to unleash plenty of hell. And the Avatar. So the Avatar, first of all, goes into this ballista.
It goes into charge you, doesn't it?
Yes. This ballista then unleashes hell with the special battalion ability, so it won't use a command point or even an order, so I can do it and with another unit as well.
That sucks so bad, man. It sucks to see.
So I could probably do it with the same unit twice, in fact, so it doesn't count as the order being issued. So, steamed in, didn't kill it with the Unleash Hell, despite +1. So, I then had to Unleash Hell with the other one because he was close enough. So I had to actually use the command ability with a command point from this one to then shoot it and then killed it. So I've unleashed all my hell, which means I've got none left for whoever else charges now.
I love it. Now, the thing that's different in Age of Sigmar 3 is that you can do that. You did all this during my turn, didn't you?
Yes.
So you were able to do a shooting attack when I tried to charge you, which kind of sucks, man.
So basically,
I really wanted to get him a round of combat there.
So all that entire battery there, all like nearly 500 points or whatever it is, almost, to take down a 135 point Avatar. And then they're going to be in combat with something else now because they can't unleash any more hell. Yes, it was. They unleashed heck rather than hell. Definitely, it wasn't as devastating, and they've been very disappointing. The ballistas so far, they've not done very well at all, and it's partly my fault for the Azeroth not being in the right place, but also they've just been rolling poorly as well. So the Hag Queen's able to get into one of them.
Isn't that a nice sight? The Hag Queen is like devastated with her idol of worship just being toppled to the ground with these huge harpoons that look like something from a science fiction film. completely unplausible in a fantasy game, but there you go. She comes rushing in old school with wielding her two blades in a state of fury. Meanwhile, that Knight of Zeros there, he is a prime candidate to get charged by not by one, not by two, but by three of my units. So I charged in. I just wanted to take this guy out.
Well, you know what
very,
else he's a
very
prime
quickly.
candidate for? He's a prime candidate for Finest Hour as well, the heroic ability. So he's going to have a 2+ save now. He's got the artifact for the 5+ ward. So can you kill him with a Bloodrack Shrine and
On the
Witch
charge.
Elves and Sisters of Slaughter, who have barely any rend between them? So
No
I'm going to be
rend.
getting a lot of easy to make saves against their attacks. So look at all those units just surrounding the Knight of Zeros here.
Oh man.
So
I
obviously,
really tried my best.
the Daughters of Khaine, it's a bit of a trade-off because you don't have much rend in your whole army, but you also have ward saves against everything.
Yes,
So
I have
it
5
balances
ward
out, doesn't
save
it?
with those. Yeah. Within range, I get a 5.
So what do you think of this handful of saves here from the Witch Elf attacks?
Look at that, phenomenal. So I think this. I mean, that was typical of Andy's right. He's moaning about his ballistas rolling, right? But then look what he does. Now, this wasn't just one round of combat. This combat lasted, I don't mind, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but this combat lasted a fair few turns.
Well, let's have a look here.
And he literally saved something like 60 wounds on him.
Well, he hits back and kills some Sisters of Slaughter, so they have slightly less attacks to hit him. And then we'll get back to that combat in a minute, because obviously there's more units to fight. The Hag Queen does some wounds on the ballista, doesn't kill it.
Oh, I know.
Lord Ordinator, because you finished within 3 inches of the Lord Ordinator as well, so he's able to pile in, and he does 1 wound to the Hag Queen.
It shocked me. I didn't realise in my turn, one of your guys could pile in and fight.
It's because you finished within 3 inches of him, so he was eligible. Then the Shrine fights, all saved again. The Ballista fights back and does nothing.
The Shrine's got some good attacks, man. On the charge, it's got its scythed blades. It's got a few things there. But because when it was my shooting attack, it wasn't in range, so I couldn't do my blood rack stare, which might have got a mortal wound on him.
The remaining Sisters of Slaughter do nothing as well, so that 2+ save that was barely threatened at all by all these attacks. Very successful there, so good use of Finest Hour to save him. So the terrible rolling for the ballistas seems to have channeled the successful rolls into the Knight of Zeros.
Yeah, so, how much was that? How much was that Knight of Zeros?
I think he's about 120 points, something like that. It's not that much.
Here we go. Look, all that moaning, 120 points, whereas I've got 190. I've got almost 500 points tied up there.
He's not particularly killy, though.
Fooled me.
So, over here, what's going on? Well, that objective's held, so that's going to get you 2 victory points for the turn.
What we like.
At the end of that turn, and there it is. Victory points on the blue dice there. These are the command points that are remaining at this point, and that is the turn that we're on. So we're going on to my next turn now. And a command point was used to rally the Sisters of Slaughter, and a couple of them popped back up to life.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I did that. What's that called? That's not
Rally.
heroic recovery. That's called rally, isn't it? So you got to roll a 6
Yes.
for every member that's died in that unit so far.
So obviously you saw that I put Finest Hour on the Knight of Zeros, which means he's not eligible to use it again. So at this point I put Finest Hour onto Yin Droster, because she is going to be steaming into combat this turn as well.
Let's just to clarify, Andy, you can only use Finest Hour once in a battle?
Yes, once per battle per hero.
Oh, per hero. See, that's unfortunate. I think, only one person should be able to have a Finest Hour in one event. Otherwise, it's not the finest anymore, isn't it? If lots of people are having a Finest Hour, well, it doesn't make sense.
There's a debate to be had. So you also put Finest Hour onto the Hag Queen as well.
Yeah, let's all put Finest Hour on everything multiple times. It's like, if you can, I'll do it, but I don't agree with it. But there, I get.
So under protest, you put Finest Hour onto the Hag Queen. We'll make a note of that. So the Ether Wings and the Judicators are moving inwards because they're just running away from your flying unit that have come down that side of the battlefield.
May I say, Andy, that these guys at the back here are completely useless.
They were. The Judicators have been letting me down lately. the big bow always rolls a 1. The small bows only can potentially kill 1 model each if they're lucky, and they killed 1 witch elf. So what good's that really? At this point,
yeah, no good. It's no good.
So
I think did you roll a 1 with your special shooty attack?
Yes, as usual. So Yin Droster here, she is currently fighting the shrine, but before that,
God.
because the 2 ballistas failed to kill the Hag Queen, it's not even Unleash Hell this time, it's just their normal shooting within range of the Ordinator. The Hag Queen, who does have +1 to the save, but it's still rend -2. A bazillion shots into the Hag Queen, just so many of them missed, that Yin Droster then had to throw her spear into the Hag Queen as well, because I thought, I've got to kill this Hag Queen before it kills off my ballista. But that failed as well. I think you passed the ward save, actually, from the flying spear. On a
amazing.
5+.
I love that sort of queen, man. It's so good. So good.
So, hopefully I'm going to kill the shrine in a minute.
No.
Knight of Zeros, I use a command point to put all-out defense on it to keep the save at 2+.
Unbelievable.
So,
unbelievable.
Yeah, this is why I'm using my command points. I want to keep this thing alive and just tie up all your troops in the middle.
Yeah, but if you're putting all-out save on something, fair enough. It's like the guy, kneels down on the floor and covers his head in his hand and goes, "Don't hurt me." Surely, if you do all-out save, you should be penalised on your attack because do you know what I mean? It's like you're focusing more on defense, so why should you get as good attack as you normally have? And similarly, if it's all-out attack, you should take a penalty on your defense. That's what I think. It needs more balance.
When you're talking about going down into a ball like that, are you familiar with the Rock Lords? It was a line of action figures, and it was also a cartoon.
No, it's just what I used to do in the school playground if I got bullied. It worked.
Well, they could turn into rocks. So they were like Transformers, but instead of vehicles, you could make them into boulders. So that's kind of what the Knight of Zeros is doing here with all-out defense. 2+ save, just covering up, not getting killed. He's not going to kill many of them anyway, because he's only got 4 attacks. I think he's killed a couple there, though. But they're going to pop up probably anyway. Over here, the ballista goes down from the Hag Queen, unfortunately. Because look at that, all that stuff that was thrown at her, 2 ballistas shot at her.
Love that.
The Celestial Spear thrown right at her head, and she didn't even take a wound from all that thing, or maybe she took 1 from a ballista. Disgraceful.
She's got 3 wounds left, so she's taken 2 wounds. Yeah, she's wicked, man. I didn't even put any prayers on her or nothing. I don't think. There is a prayer coming up though she can do. Now she's in base-to-base contact. She can do this pretty cool thing. I think I might have got the chance to actually use it.
Well, here again, the Knight of Zeros is making all its saves.
At this point, Andy, I wanted to actually move my units away from that Knight of Zeros and just think, do you know what? I can't hurt you. I'm going to just leave you now, let you just live and just float around there.
He finally takes 2 wounds, though.
Yeah, I think, were they mortal wounds from the bloods?
No, they were regular wounds, because I remember failing the ward saves and the armor saves for them. Because it was just a big handful of dice I was rolling, and there were a couple of ones that snuck in there. So he's finally failed a couple of saves now.
At this point, Andy, the Witch Elves were getting some rather tasty buffs. They were getting re-rolling ones to hit and re-rolling ones to wound, which was pretty cool. Plus, they had a lot of attacks, so many attacks. The Witch Elves were getting 3 attacks each, with the leader getting 4 attacks on that. So there was just a shitload of dice.
Everyone's fought now, and he's still only lost 2 wounds, so he's going to be fine for this turn. So my Liberators charged into these, what are they, Shadow Stalkers?
Khainite Shadow Stalkers.
Yeah, so asking, without looking at the War Scroll myself, I just asked, are they any good in combat? And was told, no, they're just like shooty. So I thought, okay, I'll send the Liberators in there and mop them up. Killed 1, and then what do you think happened next?
I know what happened. What do the audience think's going to happen next?
4 dead Liberators. So apparently they have a billion attacks, and they just cut through anything.
Well, what the great thing was, in amongst those assassins, one of them there is called the Shroud Queen, and they all get. I might have done a stand and shoot. I can't remember if I did that or not. But she's got in combat. She's got these things called the Umbral Blades. It was 3 attacks, right? 3 to hit, 3 to wound. I'm re-rolling ones to hit and I'm re-rolling ones to wound. This is where it gets great for the Daughters of Khaine. -1 rend, so that took you to a 5-up save, and D3 wounds. So I think I managed to wound with all three. So 3 dice rolling D3 wounds. So not too bad, Andy?
Yes.
I think you didn't do a heroic saving throw on them, did you?
No, I feel I was misled with this unit's combat abilities.
Because I was playing the mind game, right? You were playing the rules game, right? I like to play the mind game.
Is that how it works now? So there's the pile of dead liberators.
I'm excited now.
I think I used my final command point to stop that final liberator running away from battle shock, though.
At this point, Andy, I'm thinking I've got some really nice tricks up my sleeve here that Andy hasn't really appreciated, because I've got way more units.
You've got way more units, and all your units seem to be quite killy as well. Unless they're fighting a 2+ save Knight Azeros, obviously.
I mean, Andy, if you hadn't had this, and I know from playing you over the years, you like armies that can shoot good, and you like armies that have got high saving throws.
Yes.
And so I like armies with lots of things there, and lots of weird and wonderful things, but they generally don't have much rend or not much armor. So it's kind of a nice trade-off between the two. But I noticed I had all these extra units, and although you've been focusing on that Slaughter Queen and on the big totem shrine Khaine statue, I'm actually all good here. As long as I can keep my Medusa on the shrine alive somehow, I might just be all right, and just basically ignore your Knight Azeros, which is just unkillable at this moment, and ignore Yin Droster. Maybe I can just eat up the command points and polish off these chaff units.
There is a positive for me, though, because both of these objectives have appeared on this side, where most of my units are. So if I get the double turn now, I would hope that I could shoot off the Hag Queen, although you never know with the ridiculously terrible ballista rolls. But I would hope to shoot off the Hag Queen, which would then free up the Lord Ordinator to maybe go and tie up the Snake Ladies in there. And then the ballista can then hold this objective. Liberators are on this one. That unit's still there, but it's better than the other side of the table where I haven't really got anything except for one Annihilator.
So let's clarify, Andy. Just at the top there's another what's it called? Objective marker that's landed there. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's one right there. There's one right there, and the one on the centre line is on the other side, where you've got a lot of troops and I don't.
I've got you. So where the Slaughter Queen is, it's actually quite an interesting point of contention now.
So if I get the next turn, it would be very interesting. But obviously, Remington wins the roll because I roll a 1 again. So he elects to go first, so I get more command points, obviously. But crucially, he can choose who to attack and where to attack and whatnot. So you can
definitely go next. I'm no way I'm going to let you have the next turn. I'm on a roll.
That would be
here,
crazy. Man. So this thing obviously isn't dead either. After Yin Droster attacked it in combat and somehow didn't kill it because it was already quite heavily wounded.
I think I've got one or two left.
It uses an ability to wound the Lord Ordinator, I think, in the hero phase.
No, that was that was in fact the Slaughter Queen.
Was it?
I said a prayer called Touch of Death. So it's kind of like a death finger, basically. So if I'm 1 inch away from you, I put the dice in one of my hands, and I put my hands behind my back. This is literally a rule, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then Andy had to choose one of the hands, and I hoodwinked him. I said, "Are you sure?" when he picked the one, and obviously it was. I was just being honest. It was the one with the dice in, and Andy went, "No, sticking to my guns." So I revealed the hand with the dice in. He suffered D3 mortal wounds. So that's how I took
Ordinator.
some hasty wounds off him.
Yin Droster here has been given the heroic willpower, which means she can unbind a spell this turn.
Nice.
Because obviously I saw what Pit of Shades can do. I don't want that to happen to anyone else.
True. I wasn't going to put Pit of Shades though on, 2 characters that can fly. There's no way I could, could do much against that.
She's taken a wound as well from something, presumably something from the shrine. And then she's up to 3 wounds, in fact, so multiple abilities target her. And she's now lost 3 of her 8 wounds.
Yeah, the Blood Track Shrine. Now, this time, they're in range for the Blood Rack Stare and the Aura of Agony. So it was 1 dice for each enemy unit within 7 inch if the roll is greater than the Aura of Agony. So basically, because I've been wounded so much, I had to roll a 5 up. Okay, and on a 5 up, each unit within 7 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds. And suddenly, I noticed that the mortal wounds were working against these heavily armored heroes, and that was the key.
So I failed some of the ward saves there, obviously. And this shrine decides, you know what, I'm at death's door, probably lucky to be alive at this point with all the shooting and combat that I've faced so far. Let's move away at the mighty speed of 3 inches that it's been reduced to now because it's so heavily damaged. So it just scuttles away a little bit out of range of these two, and then the Witch Elves are getting ready to charge in and replace the shrine in that combat.
Yeah, I did a little bit of crab move there. See if I can. I mean, at this moment, they're pushing the shrine because all its wheels are damaged. So they're sort of just wheeling it over with this Medusa in the middle going crazy.
Now you're Canary.
Forgot about these, did we? No, I didn't, did I, Andy? Remember these guys in the realm of the heavens? Or actually, no, they were just hiding, flying away above the battlefield. They decide to descend down within range of those horrible archers.
See if they can make the charge.
Yeah, so they're 9 inches away, but I think they've got a 14-inch flying move, or is it 12-inch? Something pretty decent. Yeah, 14-inch move there, so in range for a charge.
At the very least, next turn, they'll be able to have a go. So I've used a command point to put all-out defense onto Yin Droster because she's about to be targeted by shooting attacks.
Is she, though? In your head she was. In my head, it was like, do you know what? I'm just going to leave her alone and actually shoot things that I can kill.
Yeah, but did you think that because she had all-out defense on her?
It made no difference. Like, you've got like a 3-up, 2-up save and then this 4-up ward save. I mean, I didn't want to fight the girl.
So I only selected it because you chose her as a target for somebody to shoot at. So you must have then given up on anyone else shooting her after seeing what her armor was like.
Yeah, I wasn't going to shoot her with missile weapons. I was only going to attack her with either spells or things that dish out mortal wounds. So
these ones plink a wound onto a Judicator. I wouldn't have actually minded if you killed one here because it would have taken your charge range further away.
Oh, yeah. Nice thinking. Yeah.
And here, Witch Elves surround Yin Droster.
Yes.
Doomfire Warlocks surround the Annihilator. What's the thought process here?
So at this point in the game, actually might not be there yet, but there is a level by turn 4 for me. Are we on turn 3 or 4? I can't remember.
This is turn 3.
Right, okay. So yeah, we're on turn 3. So I get re-rolling ones to hit, re-rolling ones to wound. These guys took some pot shots with their doom bolts and their crossbows, but Andy saved all of them. I think you might have got 1 wound on you. I can't remember.
Not yet.
Maybe not yet. So I thought, do you know what? It would be very ironic if that one surviving guy managed to lumber over and take the command point. No, victory point.
Objective.
The objective. Yes, take the objective. So I thought, look, let's throw him some chaff over there and hold him up. I might even kill him. Who knows?
And look, you've killed the Lord Ordinator as well.
Yeah,
poor fella.
Queen, I love her so much. I should have turned. I wish I'd turned her movement. A little.
How many points is she?
See her face. The Slaughter Queen. And I can't believe you didn't take a picture of her face because she's laughing right now.
I want to know how many points this chick is.
She costs more than a Hag Queen. Do you know what? I haven't got it here. Can't tell. I can tell you. Just give me a second. Just keep the audience entertained.
Okay, so while you're looking up that, I'll tell you that because you chose to do that combat first, I elected to fight with Yin Droster, and she slaughtered. Is that 6 Witch Elves, I think?
6 Witch Elves, yeah.
She could have actually killed almost all of them, but I think you made some ward saves.
I made some really heroic ward saves, phenomenal ward saves, really. But it was just her attack was devastating. But one thing I do get some battle shock bonuses. I can re-roll the battle shock if I've got a standard bearer in the unit with witch elves.
Yes.
So that was dead useful.
At this point, the knight Azeros is about to be attacked, so I put all-out defense on him, which I have used already this turn, but not in this phase. I used it on another character in a previous phase.
I mean, that ability is so boring right now. It's so boring. It's like, and
that's how apparently that's what's big in the game at the moment. You get things with a 3+ save, put all-out defense or mystic shield on them, get them a 2+ save.
I don't care what the meta's doing. What the Slaughter Queen is doing is even better. Coming in at 120 points.
120 points, slaughtering everybody. I think he's 120 points-ish. He might be 110. He's holding people up, but he's not really doing much slaughtering. And then, look, he kills one, which is pretty much what you'd expect from him. Then, now, your Doomfire Warlocks with their rend don't do anything, but the horse takes a bite out of the Annihilator.
It's quality. 4 to hit, 4 to wound, 2 attacks each on the horses, right, with their vicious bites. No rend. And Andy rolls a 1 to save. Amazing.
But then he does kill 2 of them, which is nice.
Yeah, he does kill 2 of them.
And then you kill off the final Liberator, which isn't nice. So that's how the battlefield is looking. It's looking very bad for me at the moment, but I've still got my 2 heroes alive. I've got a Ballista, who surely I'm going to be given a double turn now, so I can shoot everything off with the Judicators and the final Ballista. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
At the minute, Andy, almost every one of your unit is in trouble, potentially. Apart from, I'd say, Yin Droster, who's quite comfortable. You've got your Ballista there. The Slaughter Queen is still alive and threatening it. You don't have all-out shooting left, I don't think. Well, you might do. You've got the Melusai there that haven't been touched, hiding in that rocky pile there, just ticking off wounds. You've got the Khainite Shadow Stalkers, and you've got the Kinari Heart Renders.
You've got this objective here with the blade cover. Yeah. You've got this one here as well. So, because we're in the 3rd battle round, you're going to get another 6 points. You're on 8, and I don't have any yet.
Yes.
So, and I think another Witch Elf or 2 run away because of Battle Shock, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
And is there
Possibly.
I think
they're not in range of her anymore. So I
think some wounds are coming back here. I think you've used Heroic Recovery on the Shrine to get some wounds back there.
Yeah, no, I've done that twice in this game, which, I know it's on my own model, but I don't think that should be right. You should be able to just do a Heroic Recovery once in a game, not every bloody round. Come on.
Yes, there's not much for me to do on my turn because the Ballista fails again because they seem to be doomed. Then I think it missed with every single shot, the Ballista, this turn at the Hag Queen, actually. All 4 shots missed. No.
Say that again. Yeah.
All 4 Ballista shots missed against the Hag Queen. They're on 5s now because the Ordinator's gone, but still, you'd expect 1 to get through, surely. But alas. So, the Knight of Zeros is still doing his best to kill off 1 Sister of Slaughter per turn and not die himself. And I think I may have used his Pulse ability at some point as well. So he just does damage to units around.
Oh my god! Here's another secret rule that Andy just brings up out the blue.
Like all your rules.
Ridiculous. Oh, every unit within 10 inch suffers D6 mortal wounds for no reason at all. Okay. Something like that.
It sounds like a much weaker version of most of your spells.
Anyway, that devastated the unit of Witch Elves, but there's still a couple still alive. None of my units have actually been removed off the table yet, by the way.
Guess who did that wound? The horses again.
Horses, the vicious bites. They're just how do they get through that armor? I don't know.
So he must have like some delicious hay or an apple or something within his armor, because the horses are just feverishly nibbling at him, and they've taken 2 wounds off him now.
Love those horses. Love them.
Then Yin Droster, of course, kills all the Witch Elves because she's a monster.
Okay,
well, she's not actually. She doesn't have the keyword monster or anything, but she is a combat beast.
Yeah.
Mr. Azeros doing what he does, not killing much and staying alive. But look at him, he's taken more wounds now. So he's actually at death's door despite having all-out defense played on him again.
Yeah, basically Andy has to roll 1 twice in a row or something to actually get wounded. So
yes,
I mean, after doing almost 100 wounds on this guy and Andy saving all of them, the law of averages do come in your favour at some point.
the Annihilator's not doing too much, and not much is going on in the middle. So that's how it's going to look at the end of that turn. So if I get the double turn, what can I hope for now? Because I'm currently holding that objective there. This one I can be holding if I can kill the Hag Queen with the ballista, which is very possible if it doesn't fail with all its attacks again. And now that Yin Droster is free as well, because she killed all the witch elves, so she can go and kill all the snake ladies in the ruins, which would then give me that objective.
Wow, you reckon she could do that in 1 round? That's like 10 wounds.
Yes.
She probably could, actually. We haven't mentioned the bottom left. The Kinari there failed their charge, so that's why they're still
that's why
there
they didn't move. She could definitely kill enough of them to give me that objective, because I can move the ballista a little bit towards it to get within 6. I can then shoot the Hag Queen off. Yin Droster can move to here, then charge in on that side of the unit, so she's going to be within range of it. Kill a couple of them, probably. Maybe 3, and then I would probably end up with more models in range of that, hopefully.
I mean, so this
That's
is
the plan, anyway.
Yeah, fair plan, Andy. I'm thinking like...
I'm going to be able to shoot them first as well with a spear.
Sure, but you think, you know, as long as you've got units alive, even if they've been wounded to the point of death, as long as somehow you can just keep them on the table, they are going to form a massive distraction for Andy. They're giving him a headache here, you know?
There's been nothing for the Ether Wings to do yet. Because
They've done nothing.
So normally they jump on objectives, but there aren't any objectives for them to jump on in this game.
Embarrassing.
And I don't feel confident that they would survive 1 round of combat against any of your units. So just throwing them in there will just get them killed on my turn, pointlessly. It's just a suicide mission that accomplishes nothing. So I'm just keeping them alive, waiting for something for them to do. I don't see a purpose to them at the moment.
What's their movement? It's pretty good.
They've got a good fly. I think it's about 12 inches they're flying.
See, I would have used them way earlier on, Andy. Just
to do what, though?
Kind of a distraction.
But distract what?
I need you. Do you know what? I need you to just study some Napoleon tactics.
Napoleon didn't have birds that kamikazed into enemy units that didn't slow them down at all. As far as I know. So if you give me an example of one of your units that the Ether Wings would survive 1 round of combat against.
Well, they could just jab into a combat that's already happening, and you know what I mean? They could just come in for the money shot, right? Just get the last couple of things there.
I don't think that'd really help.
Anyway,
someone in the chat let us know if Napoleon did actually have kamikaze pigeons in his force. So I'm claiming that objective, so I've got the points for that. So there's a juicy 3, so I'm still in the game. So if I can get a double turn, surely it's time for the double turn. No, it's not.
Why do you always think that? Why don't I get the double turn? Why is it always you in contention?
Because you're always going first. So you can't get a double turn unless I get one first.
Right, okay.
So you'd expect there to be at least a double turn during the game, but not yet, because I rolled a 1 again for the roll-off.
That's so beautiful. I can't believe it.
So you can't even possibly even tie with a 1, because in the event of a tie, then the person who went first last time has priority.
So people have been saying whoever gets the priority at the start of the game usually chooses to go second, and the game favours that player. Plus the fact you know the rules better than me, Andy. Plus the fact on paper your Stormcast are phenomenal with what their paper abilities can do. So I'm confounding everything at the minute, Andy. You know, it's just it's the Leicester City in the Premier League right now.
I think your units are actually way better than you give them credit for. I think it's because you discover what their rules are halfway into the game that you underestimate your own troops.
Yeah, well, Cedar Kurakan, hello, buddy. He says the birds should be grabbing vacant objectives, but the problem is, my friend, in this scenario, the objectives were not fixed at the start of the game. They appear from term 2, term 3, and term 4. and they all appeared miles away from where they were.
And they already had units on them as well. So the birds weren't going to kill your units that were on the objectives, and I already had the other objectives, so they weren't needed there. So what you want for the birds is a game where there's tons of objectives around, because the Stormcast are so elite that they can't be sending a unit of like annihilators halfway across the board to go and pick up an objective and sit there just sitting looking pretty on it. So you use the ether wings to go and just jump on something that you need at any given time, but this scenario doesn't really favour that.
No, so what's clear though at this point in the battle that is my mental tactics are really confounding Andy, and his logical thought process is just going haywire right now, and all he can think about is I've got to kill that Slaughter Queen, I've got to kill that Medusa on the shrine, because they're just a real thorn in your side, them two right now, and they're still alive, like with 1 wound or 2 wounds
It is
left.
that Pit of Shades, just mortal wounds being dished out, are the bane of my existence. And you can see another one, I think, has been dished out here to kill a Liberator in the woods. It was probably an arcane bolt or something like that. Over here, everyone's closing in on the ballista now and gathering around that objective.
Yeah, you did kill one of the Serpent Girls, I think, with some shooting attack.
These guys are moving in for the kill on the Liberators as well, so they're going to try and charge into them.
Yeah, those Liberators, they're just trumpy, aren't they? They just stood there, did nothing. They're an embarrassment.
Liberators, I'm not sold on them being any use at all. So I'm definitely looking forward to the new Stormcast book, where I can take Annihilators and Retributors as battle line.
Yeah, and there's these, isn't there like souped up ones with spears now?
There are like slightly better versions of the Liberators, but they're more expensive though.
Okay, we like that.
And there's also going to be a way to take like an old dragon army now, so you could take Dracoths as battle line.
It's almost like this is what I think Games Workshop does. It brought out the Stormcast Eternals, thinking everyone's going to love them, everyone's going to play them, and then they realise they're a bit crap on the battlefield, so they're forever creating new models for them and new characters and that, just to like get the upper hand, like so Stormcast become the #1 thing. Yeah,
but the problem is, Stormcast are never the #1 thing, because as far as I can tell, they are only represented, what was it someone said, it's like 10% of tournament armies are Stormcast, even though obviously they're the best-selling range because they keep churning them out.
And giving them away for free in every single box.
So on paper they look really good, but they don't have as complex, like synergistic rules compared to things like Daughters of Khaine.
I don't know, what's the answer? Bring out more Stormcast.
Well, the answer is, I'll try out lots of different units. I need to try out more in the spellcasting realm as well.
Yeah, maybe. Stormcast, they have got a spellcasting lore, haven't they? They've got lots of things that can cast spells, because they've got lots of everything that can do everything, but they're still no good. Anyway, what's going on here?
It looks like you've shot a lot of wounds off the ballista, the final ballista, and then you're going into combat with it.
Yes, it's got 1 wound left, I believe. 1 wound left. Really irritating. 1 wound left. So my shooting didn't quite do the job on that.
You've killed the Judicator as well with them.
Yeah, on the charge. That was sweet, man.
And I think, did you lose one in return as well? It looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, one dies there. So the Judicator Prime kills one of them.
They've only got 1 wound.
And look at this. Because you didn't prioritise fighting first with the Slaughter Queen, the Ballista crew uppercuts the Slaughter Queen in the face and kills her.
That's so naive. I got overconfident, and this is where the game completely turns, because you're all thinking, oh, Rem's got this wrapped up. But just one silly moment, do you know, and what it comes down to is sentiment, Andy, because last time I used the Kinaris, I didn't choose to fight them first. I think the first time I played them, I didn't choose them to fight first on the charge. And what happened was you turned around and hit them and almost annihilated the whole unit before I could use their special abilities on the charge. So I thought, oh, I better do that. And instead, I should have gone and fought with that Slaughter Queen just to finish off that devastating ballista, because, you know, when it does hit, it hits flipping hard, man.
So that Slaughter Queen, 120 points, she survived like 5 full shooting attacks from the ballista. She survived the Lord Ordinator fighting her.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after all these celestial shells have just pinged off her armor, she gets punched in the face by a War Machine crewman and she's dead.
This is so dumb. And in fact, you know, she should have done even better than that, because I was going to do a prayer. I should have done a prayer run at early doors and I forgot. and that was the Dance of Doom. And when you put it on a unit, you can choose it on any unit. They can turn around and fight for a second time.
Well, you'll see the Knight of Zeros is also dead, so it's not all bad news for you. Finally goes down, surrounded by all your troops. And what did it really achieve? It survived for a long time, but it barely killed anything. So it would have done its job had I remembered to run it in the first turn to get it within 10 inches of the things I was shooting at, which was the whole idea of putting it in the list. But,
yeah, Andy, I'm surprised you didn't retreat with it and go to an objective with it.
But
right?
you would have followed me there with way more models, though.
Yeah, but you got like a 14-inch move, haven't you? Something like that.
He'll be faster than them, but there's only one of him, and he was doing all right holding them there. I thought that was a good spot for him to be in. The Annihilator takes down another Doomfire Warlock, and then gets killed by a horse.
That's beautiful. I love those horses. Those Doomfire Warlocks. I love those guys.
So the horses did all 3 wounds to him. The Warlocks did nothing.
So how much were those Annihilators?
190 points for 3, and they did nothing in this game. So, ideally, you want to either use them probably with the Lord Imperator, who lets them set up 7 inches away instead of 9 inches when they drop down from the heavens. Because when they're re-rolling their charge as well, they've got a very good chance of making that. Or, I could have also just put them in the middle of the battlefield with the Knight of Zeros and just said, here, come and get past this 2+ save wall I've put up.
Yeah, what another reason why I charged Andy with those is so he couldn't charge me. Because on the charge, they're really cool, right? So
I think it may be only on the turn they come down they get the charge bonus.
Yeah.
So they would have still liked to have charged you though.
But you know, he did hold up 5 Doomfire Warlocks for a good couple of turns, which the Doomfires cost 140 points. And bear in mind, they're only fighting one of your guys. There should have been 3 in the unit there. So if there was 3, they would have annihilated me for sure.
The final Judicator runs away from Battle Shock as well. So there's a Liberator left, there's a Ballista, and there's Yin Droster.
Headline news, Andy fails a Battle Shock test with his Stormcast.
It's not surprised when 4 of them died. See, when you're telling me to take these 10 model units for Stormcast, that's when they can actually fail Battle Shock, when they take larger units. Because they've got good bravery, but not if they lose like 4 or 5 of them. They're still in a bad place. Right, you look at those Canary Life Takers at the bottom, and they're chasing down those Ether Wings that are just, for some ridiculous reason, Andy is now terrified. He's put the Ether Wings in the bottom right corner of the table. What they're doing? Nothing. I don't know. All they can do is stay alive, because anything they charge there, they'll be killed in 1 turn. So if you abandon an objective or something, they can jump on it. So that's all they're going to do, just stay alive for the rest of the game.
You know what is still alive, Andy, is that bloody Ballista. Still alive. It's still there.
It is.
And Yin Droster.
Yes.
But Andy, it's looking like there's not many units left at all for you now. What have you got left? You've got the Ballista on 1 wound. You've got Yin Droster, the unkillable lady with the hawk wings, and the spear with auto wound. And then you've got these Ether Wings, and you've got 1 Liberator in that forest there.
Well, you've got this objective now. And that objective.
Khainites.
And that objective. So you rack up a ton of points there. So you're on like 20 points and I'm on 3. So at this stage, there is a way I can win, but it's very difficult. So what I need to do is I need the double turn, first of all, with the end of this round and the opening of the next round. So Yin Droster has to steam into the Blade Coven, kill them all, and hold this objective to get me the points for that.
It looks good, but
it looked okay, but then she didn't roll well enough to kill them all.
Yeah, because Morgwith the Bloody, she's got 5 wounds herself.
Yeah, she only killed 3, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I think you must have got 6 wounds on them altogether, because Morgwith, you must have got 5 wounds. So Morgwith suffered 2 wounds, and 3 of the wounds were put on the Coven itself.
Then the Ballista also needed to kill all the Snake Ladies so they could have this objective. But, as you can see, there's 1 of them left. So Ballista's disappointing again, and it's only got 1 wound lot on it left as well, so that's probably going to die. You can see I even used all-out attack on it as well to give it +1 to hit, since the Lord Ordinator's dead.
Andy, I remember you rolling a ton of dice, and it was just mowing down all the remaining serpents.
Except one.
Yeah, I managed to pull off a ward save with it.
So those two things deprive me of the objectives. So at this stage, because of the points deficit, going into the next round, if Rem goes first, then he's won. Because he automatically holds this objective and the one over there, which means he's going to have too many points for me to catch up. So I would have to go first in the next round, kill the final Snake Lady, hold the point with the Yin Droster, and somehow kill all them as well. The Ether Wings would have to kill them. So it's still theoretically possible, I think, if I go first in the next round, I think. So that objective not held by me. So I don't get any points in that round at all. So if Rem goes first in turn 5, it's over. And of course he wins the roll because I roll a 1 again for the roll-off for turn. So the Remster has all those points. The Daughters of Khaine reigns supreme with 1 billion points. I've barely got any. And Yin Droster proved herself to be a worthy commander of the army. But the army, especially the Grand Battery, very expensive artillery battery that plopped down, due to some... Well, the Knight Zeros forgetting to run in the first round didn't help them, but then after that, they had so many chances to redeem themselves and failed at every turn. It was only at the end, the one comedy thing they did was uppercut the Slaughter Queen to death, which didn't actually help me in the game at all.
No, you did remove the shrine though, Andy. You can see the shrine. It really tried to survive, didn't it? But something went wrong.
I did kill off the shrine. I killed that by throwing the spear into it.
Right, the magical auto hit wound spear that can fly.
That hits on
corners.
2s, wounds on 2s, -2 rend, I think, and d6 wounds.
Unbelievable.
It's only 1 attack though, and you know what I'm like with rolling 1s with things that have 1 attack.
I think you should only be able to throw that spear once in the game. I mean, how come
She's
every
300 points. Your ridiculous shrine is 190 points with Pit of Shades. Just erasing 190 point Annihilator units. Erasing things that are just as expensive as it is itself.
Love Pit of Shades, man. Love it.
So, other than make your list legal by reducing the number of points and thus not automatically be disqualified, what would you change about your list going forward now? Is there anything you think that's letting you down?
It was a disclaimer. I was 1,515 points. I was 15 points.
So you were
over.
disqualified 15 times, essentially.
So what would I do? I mean, because every unit in my army played a part, didn't it? Arguably, the Khanari life takers weren't necessary, really, but you know, I've had games against you, Anya, where those Judicators, the Stormcast with bows, right, can be really devastating, or at least a major distraction. So I've looked at some alternatives, and I think what I'm going to do is take off Morgwith the Blooded. She's been pretty cool for me, actually, but taking her off,
that would speed up your gameplay as well, because that unit is really complicated.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, so it's because her being a hag queen, you can do all these extra things, but you're kind of not sure what to do.
I should tell people that this game took 5 hours as well.
Yeah. 5 hours. So if I took her off, that'd save me 175 points, and so I'd then have 160 points to spend. And I'm thinking, what can I buy with that? And I looked at all the things I could buy. I could buy some tasty things, and one thing I've got in my sights is a Malusite Iron Scale. It gives all kinds of bonuses to snakes, and she's got a shooting attack, and she's pretty damn good herself. And then plus, I could take an endless spell, maybe the Heart of Khaine, which gives me some extra protections, which is pretty cool. Or I could get some more Doomfire Warlocks, or I could get another Avatar of Khaine in there. Or
if you're allowed to, I'm sure that's got to be unique. It's the Avatar of Khaine. How can there be 2?
True. Or I could take the Slaughter Queen and put her on a Cauldron of Blood.
Yes, you haven't tried that yet.
So I could have a Cauldron of Blood and the Shrine. That would be fun. But I've got an old school Cauldron of Blood, an old metal one. I'm going to have to paint that up and make that nice.
The weird thing about this game, I really like my list still. And I feel like not changing too much, because I like that Grand Battery. I think if I'd remembered to run the Knight of Zeros, and then obviously rolling a bit better would have been nice. But I think that's a pretty potent combo there. Maybe I could pick different targets or different positioning. The Annihilators could have been put down somewhere different, I think. So they could have been put down in front of you and just like, come at me, bro, kind of thing, because they're so tough.
You didn't take the Dragon Horses, did you? They've been pretty good.
So what I'm thinking is,
Liberators, aren't you? You got to take Battle Line.
Yes. What I'm thinking is, if I'd put the Annihilators down in the middle, they could have been near Yin Droster then, and she could have then brought one back each turn. The Annihilators. If you were just killing one a turn, she could have brought them back. So keeping them near her, maybe zapping them down in the centre, because she can easily get there with them, would have been helpful. So that's something to consider. I also need more dispelling ability. So the Knight Incanter is a good choice, because she can just dispel one spell automatically per battle, and then she can unbind every turn with just the rolling. And she also gives me good access to the likes of Mystic Shield. The problem is, who do I drop to fit her in? Because dropping the Ether Wings doesn't give me enough points. So, where does it come from? Because I like the rest of the list, apart from Liberators, but yeah, I don't have a choice. Unless we start upping the points level a little bit. Maybe we go to 1,600 points next time. And see what we can fit in there.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to make my army a bit more simple to run. I am getting better at it, but there are a few things.
I think if you take out the units that are like combos of different models, that's going to help things a lot. So that would be the Blade Coven and the Shadow Stalkers.
The Shadow Stalkers don't seem to take me long to get my head around.
Okay, so if you stick with them, take out the Blade Coven and maybe bring in another unit of something else you've already got. Maybe, like more Witch Elves or something.
Yeah, well, I actually haven't got any more units physically, so I have to buy this stuff, right? So I do love the Snake Girls. So they're not that cheap though. They're actually 135 points. So I could take off the Doomfire Warlocks and bring in 10 more sisters. Sorry, I've got the wrong bloody card in front of me. What am I looking at here?
By the way, William says the avatar is not unique, so you can take 5 of them probably if you want.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. The Bloodstalkers are 170 points for 5, so they're really pricey actually. So yeah, I could get 5 more Bloodstalkers instead of Morgwith, but then I'd still be 10 points over. So yeah,
at a slightly higher points level, I've obviously got tons of options. I've got loads of heroes that aren't making it into my lists. I've got Evocators, who are like wizard infantry. I've got Dracoth, I've got Stardrake, loads of heroes. What else have I got? I've got the new Praetors, those 3 like hero bodyguard characters.
Bring them on, Andy. The more games I play, the more confident I'm getting. Not overconfident, but just in a battle of wills, I think it's clear that you are the lesser mind of this particular matchup against the Remstar. And let's just take a moment of pause here that I've actually beat Andy in this trilogy of games. It's a great feeling. However, I'm going to be as humble and defeat as I can. I do think the scenario did favour me a bit in where the objectives landed, and if it'd been that sort of straight up thing where there's two objectives on your side, 2 on mine, and 1 in the middle contested, I think you might have been a bit of a better match in that, because those bloody Ether Wings, right?
So
what do you think?
Interesting point there. Chris says Doomfire Warlocks could be good as a 10-man unit because it'd make their spells more powerful, because you get +1. Is it +1 to cast when you've got at least 5 in the unit?
Correct.
So as soon as I shoot 1 off, they're less potent.
Correct.
So a unit of 10 could be interesting for them.
Yeah.
Because your units don't seem to be that expensive, Daughters of Khaine. So yeah, you can probably double up some of these units. Another thing about doubling up units in this edition is that when you're using command points to give them, let's say, all-out attack, you're boosting way more models with that 1 command point than you would be if you had lots of smaller units. So that's something to think about as well. I would like to put Retributors back in the list, obviously, because they are like the ultimate Rem Slayers. With their mighty hammers, they just smash Witch Elves left and right.
Yeah.
So I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if you can get them into my big, if you can get them into the shrine, you could take out the shrine in one turn potentially.
I could easily put out 3,000 points of Stormcast, but I don't think you would have any way to make that up with the Daughters of Khaine unless you get Marathi.
Yeah, Marathi comes in at something like 660 points, 640, something like that.
Yeah, I
But
think we'll have to hold off on going to 3,000 points until Marathi arrives at the table.
I can also, I believe I can get a Kraken Gargant as a sort of a mercenary choice.
Yeah, you can ally in other factions as well.
That would be fun. But I've got a ton of armies I haven't played with properly yet in this edition. So
who are we going to play with next?
I'm happy to keep playing with the daughters because the more I play, the more I understand and that. And but I've got a huge Gloomspite Gitz army. It's going to be a load of fun to play that. Again, lots of models with not much rend, and with a lot of glass cannons, right? So, or I've got my Cities of Sigmar. I've got loads of like former wood elves and that. I've got loads of dwarves. I've got a ton of Empire stuff. So that could be fun, but that's going to take me a while to get my head around for sure.
Wayne says, will you be streaming a Cursed Cities campaign?
Say again?
Will we be streaming a Cursed Cities campaign, asks Wayne.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, I've painted 2/3 of the models now. So I just need to paint the rest of the heroes. And yeah, could be away to the races with that. But in the meantime, I got distracted and bought the grey water fastness to fill out my Cities of Sigmar Dwarden. So that's coming.
That'll
and
be
now
fun.
I might have even put a bid in on eBay for some more Bloodstalker sisters.
So, everyone, that's how the battle looked at the start, of course. So anyone who wants to leave any tactical tips or any other comments on the models or anything, or the battlefield, feel free. Drop the comments in if you're watching this later.
Andy, there's rumoured there's some exclusive video footage from this battle, from the actual moment things happened, showing your reactions and my reactions.
Yes, so
and more of my yellow tank top.
There was some guerrilla-style video footage taken of this game, which may have featured a cameo appearance from Annie as well of Bad Squiddo Games. And that footage, first of all, will be made available to patrons for a limited time, and it'll then go out to the general public, but they'll get first access because obviously they generously part with their hard-earned cash to keep this channel afloat. And keep your eyes peeled for that. Don't forget to check out all the links and stuff as well in the description. Like the video, obviously. You can even subscribe to Remington Steel, which I think the URL of the channel is something like Warhammer Chat, maybe.
Is it?
Because yeah, if you just type Remington Steel into YouTube, it doesn't come up. If you type Remington Steel Warhammer, it'll come up.
Oh, okay.
But
what do I do with that?
And I was also starting the campaign on Discord as well for the return of Remington's Pillow Talk again. I put a link in there to the previous episode, which was 8 years ago.
Get out of it.
8 years ago, the last episode of Remington's Pillow Talk. You're well overdue.
Wow.
I hope it's not the same pillow.
Oh. I'll do another pillow talk. It was just a spare of the moment thing.
Well, there you go. It's time. People demand the return of Remington's Pillow Talk on your channel, which they're going to go and subscribe to now.
Yeah, and it's free to subscribe to my channel, which is kind of cool. I've got 665 subscribers now, so one off the magic number. One of my videos has had 6,500 views. How about that? My Vampire Counts Army Showcase. Damn, I shouldn't have sold that army. They look great.
You know what? Right? If you don't do a Pillow Talk, David says do Pillow Talk Q&A. So people could submit their questions. If you go on Facebook,
wow, what a cool idea.
You go on the Facebook group or Discord now and ask all the people in there to give their input, ask you questions for Pillow Talk. And if you don't do one, I will, because that's a really good idea.
What, you will get the questions for me to answer?
No, I'll do my own Pillow Talk if you don't do one.
But that's copying me.
Yeah, but if you're not doing it anymore, someone's got to pick up the mantle.
Oh, man. All right,
just applying pressure so you'll bring back that series. See,
I'm
look,
not
people are
allowed.
chanting for Pillow Talk in the chat now.
I'm not allowed to stream live on my YouTube because I don't have enough subscribers or something silly. Is that right?
Yes,
Ah,
which is
sucks.
ridiculous, but you can still just do it recorded and then upload it.
All right. Well, has anyone got any questions now? I write them down in my notebook.
Well,
I'm a
people
bit
can
busy
leave
this
them in the
weekend.
comments after the show, and then you'll come back and look at them, no doubt.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
you can go on Discord server in the links in the description and
Oh
our
yeah.
Facebook group, and put your questions in there. The Remster will start a topic in the Facebook group for you to leave your questions. How's that?
Oh god, this is a lot of information. All right, Andy and Rem show in Discord. That looks good. Oh, a lot of people are putting pictures in. Wow, there's some amazing Andrasters in there. Okay, where do I put it? In hobby pictures? No, wargaming news.
Put it
There's
in.
lots of
Put it in the
topics.
general chat section.
General tat. Urgent. All right, urgent.
Submit questions for Remington's Pillow Talk. 8 years in the making.
Submit questions for Remington's Pillow Talk.
Yes.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to get the thumbnail up and we're going to wrap up this video. So thanks for joining us, everyone that's been here all the way through. This is probably the longest battle report we've ever done because it's very in-depth analysis, this, and hopefully people appreciate this format. We will eventually, when we've got the rules down and our games don't take 5.5 hours, then we will definitely do some live streamed games as well. If we can bring them down to like a snug 2.5 hours maybe, I think that would be a good goal once we've really got the rules down. And we'll probably find an army that are quicker to play than Daughters of Khaine at some point as well. And we'll see how that goes. Other than that, like, subscribe, Discord, Facebook, Patreon, give me all your money. It would be very appreciated, and it would keep this lighthouse, this beacon of light in the foggy hobby times, guiding you towards the shore or away from the rocks of hobby.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. I'll pick it up
stuff.
from where you're dropping the ball there, Andy. There's a lot of crap out there, and let's face it. And we've been in this a long time. We're old hats at this, and you can change the additions, you can bring out more rules, whatever. But Andy and Rem are still going to be there, up there with the best of them.
Yes, and the two sign-out phrases. First of all, the one that Mrs. Remington is really pushing to become the new line for the Andy and Rem show is, "What you seek is seeking you." And of course, the much more popular, "Good night out there, whatever you are."